Maria wiped down the marble countertop one last time, her weathered hands moving in practiced circles. At 53, she'd been cleaning houses for nearly 30 years. Ever since arriving in this country with nothing but hope and determination, the Hartwell mansion was her newest client. Just 3 weeks now, and she approached each day with the same quiet dignity she'd carried through life. Robert Hartwell sat in his study, watching the security monitor. At 68, the retired investment banker had learned to trust no one. His wife had passed 2 years ago, his children rarely called, and the parade of housekeepers through his home had taught him a painful lesson. People saw him as nothing more than a wallet to be emptied. The safe in his bedroom stood opened, deliberately so. Inside, neat stacks of $100 bills sat alongside his late wife's jewelry. He'd left it that way for Maria to find during her cleaning. The camera would catch everything. She would steal. They always did. And he'd have her arrested before noon. Another lesson in human nature, bitter but familiar. Maria entered the bedroom with her cleaning supplies humming softly. She noticed the open safe immediately and froze. Her heart quickened as she stared at the money and jewels, more wealth than she'd see in 10 years of hard work. For a moment, she stood perfectly still. Then she did something Robert had never seen before. She walked straight past the safe to the telephone on the nightstand and dialed. Robert leaned closer to the monitor, adjusting the volume. "Mr. Hartwell?" Maria's accented voice came through clearly. "I'm in the bedroom, and I need to tell you something important. The safe is open. I don't know if you forgot to close it, but there's money and jewelry inside. I'm going to step out of the room now and wait in the hallway until you come up." Robert sat back, stunned. In his study down the hall, he heard his phone ringing. He stared at it, then back at the monitor, where Maria had indeed stepped into the hallway. Pulling the bedroom door partially closed behind her, he didn't answer the phone. Instead, he watched as Maria stood in the corridor, her arms folded, her face peaceful. She wasn't pacing nervously or checking over her shoulder. She simply waited, patient as stone. An hour passed. Maria remained in the hallway, occasionally checking her watch but never once returning to the bedroom. Finally, she called again. This time, Robert answered. "Mr. Hartwell, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I really need you to secure the safe before I can finish cleaning. Why didn't you just close it yourself?" he asked, his voice rough with emotion he couldn't quite name. There was a pause. "Sir, that's not my place. It's not my safe, not my money. I would never touch something that isn't mine, but I also can't leave it open and unguarded. My mother taught me that our integrity is the only thing we truly own." Robert ended the call and climbed the stairs slowly, his chest tight. When he reached the hallway, Maria stood aside respectfully. "I'm sorry if I worried you," she said quietly. "I just wanted to do the right thing." He studied her face, the gentle lines around her eyes, the dignity in her posture, the honest concern in her expression. "You've been standing here for over an hour." "Yes, sir?" "I didn't feel right leaving it unattended." Robert felt something crack inside him, all the walls he'd built. All the cynicism he'd wrapped around his heart like armor. "Come with me, please," he said. They walked to his study together. He gestured to a chair across from his desk, and Maria sat, clearly confused but composed. "I need to tell you something," Robert began, his voice shaking. "That safe was a test. I left it open on purpose to see what you would do. I have cameras. I've done this with 5 other housekeepers. They all stole from me." Maria's eyes widened, but she said nothing. "I was so sure you would too," he continued, tears now streaming down his weathered face. "I've been sitting here for 3 weeks, waiting for you to prove that everyone is the same, that trust is foolish, that the world is full of thieves and liars. Mr. Hartwell, please, let me finish." He wiped his eyes. "My wife used to tell me I'd become bitter. She'd say, 'Robert, not everyone is out to hurt you.' But I didn't believe her. After she died, it got worse. I pushed everyone away. My own children barely recognize the man I've become." He opened his desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. "This was my plan. When you took the money, because I was certain I was going to have you arrested, this envelope contains the police report I'd already written. But you didn't take anything. You called me. You waited in that hallway for over an hour, protecting something that wasn't yours, expecting nothing in return. Maria leaned forward, her own eyes glistening. Mr. Hartwell, I'm sorry people hurt you. But I clean houses because I believe in honest work. My mother cleaned houses before me. She used to say that how we act when no one is watching, that's who we really are. I thought you were watching anyway, to be honest, she added with a small smile. The cameras are quite visible. Robert laughed through his tears, a sound he hadn't made in years. You saw the cameras? Of course, but that doesn't change what's right and what's wrong. I wouldn't steal from you if there were 100 cameras or none at all. They sat in silence for a moment. To people who'd lived through hardship and loss, who'd learned different lessons from life's cruelty. I'd like to give you something, Robert said finally. Please don't, Maria interrupted gently. I didn't do anything special. I just did what anyone should do. But that's exactly the point, Robert said. You're right, it should be what anyone does. But it isn't. And I need to apologize to you for assuming you would steal. I need to apologize for testing you like that. You deserved my trust from the beginning, and give me that, Maria said softly. Give me your trust. That's worth more than anything in that safe. Robert stood and extended his hand. Maria took it, and they shook two people, bridging decades of pain with one simple gesture of respect from that day forward. The safe remained closed and locked. But more importantly, Robert began to open something that had been sealed far longer his heart. He called his children. He started attending his wife's book club that still met monthly. He even smiled at strangers in the grocery store. And Maria. She continued to clean his house twice a week, but she also became something more precious. A friend who taught an old man that the world still held goodness, that trust could be rebuilt, and that sometimes our assumptions about others say more about us than about them. Years later, when Robert finally passed away peacefully in his sleep at 76, his children found a letter on his desk. It was addressed to Maria. Inside, along with a generous gift, were these words: You gave me back my faith in humanity. You reminded me of who I used to be and who I wanted to be again. Thank you for your honesty, your dignity, and most of all, your patience with a stubborn old fool who forgot that the world is full of good people. You just have to trust enough to see them. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories about kindness, redemption, and the unexpected moments that change our lives. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when someone restored your faith in humanity. We'd love to hear your stories too.